For over 8 decades, The Wizard of Oz has been the ultimate definition of Hollywood magic. It is a movie that has been passed down through generations, a Technicolor masterpiece that taught us to dream. We all know the iconic imagery, the ruby slippers, the Emerald City, and the lovable friends skipping down the yellow brick road. It paints a picture of pure innocence, a whimsical production where dreams really do come true, and where there is no place like home. But that is just a lie, a beautiful, colorful lie. If you peel back the layers of that yellow brick road, you won't find gold. You will find pain, abuse, and near-death experiences. Behind the curtain, the production of this 1939 classic was a living nightmare for almost everyone involved. We aren't just talking about long working hours. We are talking about a set where the magical snow was actually cancer-causing asbestos raining down on the actors' faces. We are talking about cast members being permanently scarred by pyrotechnic explosions that went wrong. And perhaps darkest of all, the systematic torture of a teenage Judy Garland who was starved, drugged, and pushed to the brink of insanity by a studio that viewed her as a product, not a person. Welcome back to the channel. If you thought the Wicked Witch was the scariest thing in this movie, think again. Today, we are shattering the illusion. We are going deep behind the scenes to uncover the weirdest, darkest, and most disturbing secrets that almost destroyed the cast of The Wizard of Oz. But before we peel back the curtain, if you love uncovering dark movie secrets, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. By the end of this video, you will never be able to watch this movie the same way again. Let's enter the real dark side of Oz. Fact number 1, the Tin Man's toxic lungs. When you picture the Tin Man, you're looking at actor Jack Haley, but he wasn't the first choice. Originally, a dancer named Buddy Ebsen was cast in the role. He had already recorded all the songs and gone through weeks of rehearsals, but he would never make it to the final film because the role nearly killed him. The problem wasn't the costume, it was the makeup. To get that shining metallic look in the days before CGI, the MGM makeup department coated Ebsen's face with clown white paint and then heavily dusted it with pure aluminium powder. They did this every single morning. The issue was that every time they applied the powder, it created a toxic cloud around his face. Unknowingly, Ebsen was inhaling microscopic razor-sharp shards of aluminium into his lungs for 9 days straight.
And a studio that cared more about profits than people.
Ebsen woke up gasping for air. His body went into violent cramps. His hands curled up, and his skin literally turned blue from lack of oxygen. He was rushed to the hospital, where doctors made a horrifying discovery. His bronchial tubes were completely coated in aluminium dust. He had suffered a massive respiratory failure. Ebsen spent 2 weeks in an oxygen tent and a prolonged period recovering, with some reports saying he had to use an iron lung to breathe. But here is the darkest part. MGM Studios didn't sympathize. They were furious about the delay. The producers didn't even believe he was sick at first. They called to complain that he was holding up production. When they realized he wouldn't recover quickly, they simply fired him. They brought in a new actor, Jack Haley, and quietly changed the makeup from a dust to a paste. But, and this is the chilling part, they never told Jack Haley why the first actor had left. They let him believe Ebsen was just fired. Even the paste wasn't safe. It caused a severe eye infection for Haley, but he was lucky enough to survive the role that nearly suffocated his predecessor. Fact number 2, the Witch on Fire. Margaret Hamilton played the terrifying Wicked Witch of the West, a character that gave nightmares to children for generations. But during filming, Hamilton was living a nightmare of her own. In 1939, CGI didn't exist. If you wanted a character to vanish in a burst of fire and smoke, you had to use real fire and real explosives. In one specific take, Hamilton was supposed to drop through a trapdoor in the floor, the exact moment a burst of flames shot up to conceal her exit. It was a precise dance of timing, but on the 4th take, the timing went horribly wrong. The trapdoor malfunctioned and didn't open fast enough. The pyrotechnics, however, went off right on schedule. A massive blast of fire shot up, not around the actress, but directly at her. The flames instantly ignited her broomstick and her hat, engulfing her face and hand in searing heat. The cast and crew initially thought her screams were just part of her terrified acting. It wasn't until they saw the skin on her hand literally melting that they realized she was burning alive. Hamilton suffered severe second-degree burns on her face and third-degree burns on her hand. But the horror didn't stop there. Her iconic green makeup was copper-based, which is toxic. Doctors realized that if the copper seeped into her open wounds, she could die of blood poisoning. So before they could even treat the burns or give her pain relief, they had to scrub every inch of the green paint off her raw, burned flesh using rubbing alcohol. The pain was reportedly so excruciating that Hamilton nearly passed out. She spent 6 weeks recovering, and when the studio demanded she return to set, she agreed on one condition: no more fire stunts. Ironically, her stunt double, Betty Danko, later performed a similar broomstick stunt and also suffered severe burns, proving that the role of the witch was truly cursed. Fact number 3, it snowed asbestos. One of the most visually stunning moments in The Wizard of Oz is the poppy field sequence. Dorothy and her friends have been put into a deep, magical sleep by the Wicked Witch's poisonous flowers. To save them, Glinda the Good Witch sends a gentle, magical snowfall to wake them up. It's a scene meant to represent purity, life, and salvation. But in reality, Glinda was showering the actors with pure poison. In the late 1930s, Hollywood had a problem with fake snow. Traditional materials like cotton were huge fire hazards, especially under the intensely hot Technicolor lights used on the MGM set. Since fire safety was a priority, the studio opted for a material that was famous for being fireproof: industrial-grade chrysotile asbestos. You heard that right. The snow you see covering Judy Garland and Burt Lahr is 100% shredded asbestos, a known carcinogen that we now know causes mesothelioma and fatal lung diseases. If you watch the scene closely, it becomes horrifying. The actors are required to act as if they are waking up from a deep sleep. This means they are taking deep, heavy breaths, inhaling the asbestos fibers directly into their lungs as it rains down on their faces. The Cowardly Lion's costume was made of real lion fur, which trapped the asbestos dust, meaning he was likely inhaling it long after the cameras stopped rolling. At the time, this wasn't seen as dangerous. In fact, asbestos snow was sold in hardware stores as a Christmas decoration called white magic. The irony is chilling. In the story, the snow is sent to save their lives. In reality, the cast was being coated in a deadly substance that would be banned decades later. That beautiful, magical, cinematic moment is essentially a documentary of the cast being exposed to toxic waste.